Hey guys, it's me, Seren, back with another video. So we are officially in November, so happy November to everyone out there. And that means that we are officially in holiday season, holiday mode. I live in the US, as we all know, so here in the US, we are officially in holiday mode. So I do want to say before I get into this video that I will be doing a gift guide of Black-owned products. That's going to be the Black Friday video for this month, November. As you guys know, I normally do Black Friday videos the last Friday of the month, and it is named after, Black Friday, which is the biggest shopping day of the year, which is the Friday after Thanksgiving. So I am going to be doing, for this month's Black Friday, which is the real Black Friday, a Black-owned gift guide. So go ahead and keep your eyes peeled for that for your shopping needs and holiday season. But I wanted to make this video, which is going to be a alternative holiday video, because I feel like a lot of people, especially now that more and more people are kind of becoming more woke, are feeling a disconnect from the holidays that we traditionally celebrate, especially holidays like Thanksgiving, which we celebrate this month, November. I think, what is Thanksgiving, the third Thursday of the month, or the last Thursday of the month, something like that. And I know that a lot of people, kind of similar to what we saw with Columbus Day, which was last month, October, a lot of people are feeling this disconnect from a lot of these holidays, and basically feeling like we're celebrating a holiday that glorifies colonialism, that glorifies this kind of, Eurocentric, colonized perspective, and a lot of people are kind of searching for some alternatives. So for Columbus Day, you have Indigenous Peoples Day, which more and more cities and which more and more cities and states all over the country are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. They're doing a holiday to kind of commemorate and honor Native Americans and Indigenous peoples. And I know that a lot of people feel similarly about other holidays like Thanksgiving, which is pretty much the same thing as Columbus Day, where we kind of, we glorify this idea of, settlers coming to the new world and, really a bunch of fiction, a bunch of fiction that we're taught in school because we're learning, a colonized, whitewashed version of history. And a lot of people, as we become more and more woke and walk this path, are feeling uncomfortable with that. So I wanted to make a video that kind of talked about maybe some alternative things you can do in addition to celebrating, the kind of big holidays, as well as if you want to continue celebrating the holidays, maybe do something at the same time to at least acknowledge, what really happened, if you guys get what I'm saying. Like Columbus Day, for example, is kind of like up for debate, because Columbus Day is not a big holiday. Two, there's really no denying at this point that Christopher Columbus really didn't do anything, So a lot of people don't have an issue with changing Christopher Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day or something like that. But Thanksgiving is one of those like big three holidays that's kind of hardwired into our collective American consciousness, which of course the other two is Christmas and Independence Day, which I have my own feelings about Independence Day because obviously slaves were not free, so I feel some type of way about that. But it's like on Thanksgiving you're supposed to like sit down and eat great food with your family and say what you're thankful for, and gloss over the whole massacre of the Native Americans like that never happened. And as a marginalized person, as a Black person, as a person of color, it feels wrong to me. So I just wanted to make this video of holiday alternatives in general, as well as, again, things you can do on the big holidays to kind of commemorate our Black history, this country's history, and to just be honest and aware about what's really going on. Because I'm not going to lie, like, I struggle myself with, the feeling of wanting to be with my family. I enjoy being with my family. I enjoy eating good food. I enjoy, I do enjoy saying what I'm thankful for. But then in the back of my mind, this is a holiday that was pretty much built on the bones of Native Americans. So there is a disconnect. There is a certain amount of cognitive dissonance there. So, again, as we all know, Columbus Day has been replaced, and people are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Day or Native Peoples Day, which is pretty much where they're honoring Indigenous and Native people all different tribes across the country, and really, educating ourselves and, each other on what really happened, how Columbus did not actually discover America, how when he got here, there of course were already people here, and how he wiped them out, how it was pretty much barbaric, and honoring that they're still here, there are still Native Americans, they do have their customs, they do have their pride, and a lot of people are celebrating that instead of celebrating Columbus and his, shining beacon symbol of, white power, so of course you have Columbus Day, which is in October. What a lot of people are doing in place of Thanksgiving, which is in November, is National Day of Atonement, which can also be known as National Day of Mourning. Now, I feel like National Day of Mourning is probably not going to catch on. And the reason why I say that is because, like, as messed up as it sounds, like I said, people like the idea behind Thanksgiving. They like the sentiment behind being with your family, saying what you're thankful for, eating good food, spending time together, and replacing that with something that's going to make people feel bad. I feel like a lot of people are never going to do that, But for me personally, what we did last year in my house, and what we'll most likely do again this year and from now on, is instead of putting this emphasis on pilgrims and settlers, and this was for kids and, stuff like that, because most grown-ups don't sit around talking about pilgrims and settlers, but instead of putting emphasis on pilgrims and settlers and, colonization, what you talk about is, in an age-appropriate way, what really happened, You talk about what we did and what a lot of people did, especially in light of Mike Brown and, the ongoing battle, against Black bodies, assault against Black bodies on this country, was have an empty chair. And a lot of people hashtag empty chair. If you were following me on Instagram, you probably saw that I did it. So what you do is you have an empty chair at your table for basically the people that have been killed by white supremacy, by white power, by police brutality, the people that could not be with their families, because that's what this whole holiday is supposed to be about, right? Your family, the people that could not be with their families because they are victims of institutionalized racism and white supremacy. So you have an empty chair, and then we explain to the kids, we don't have kids, but obviously, but I went to a big Thanksgiving thing at my stepfather's family's house, and we all went, and there were kids there, and you just explain to the kids, like, oh, the empty chair is for all the people that could not be with their loved ones on Thanksgiving, and then you can kind of get into some conversations about Native Americans. You don't have to, like, tell them, like, oh, genocide, because I know a lot of people, like, struggle with how are they going to tell that to their kids in an age-appropriate way, but the empty chair is a really good way to at least introduce the conversation into atonement, into mourning, like, I know people are not going to feel that just because the name, National Day of Mourning, like Thanksgiving or National Day of Mourning or National Day of Atonement. Nobody wants to feel bad. Nobody wants to talk about things that's going to make them feel bad. So, Indigenous Peoples Day is something totally different. But you can, have a National Day of Atonement, National Day of Mourning. You can have empty chair. You can have these conversations where you recognize the genocide of the Native Americans, where you recognize the genocide against the African Americans, where you recognize the police brutality, where you recognize, what part white supremacy did play in Thanksgiving, And that's a hard one. Like I said, it's difficult because it's so hardwired into our collective conscious, but I do think that the empty chair is a great place to start having these conversations. So, December, Christmas. Christmas is a big one. I know there's Jewish holidays as well. I don't know the names of them off top, but I know there's Jewish holidays as well. But, of course, there is also Kwanzaa, which we can all celebrate. Kwanzaa honors African heritage and African American culture, and it is observed from December 26th through January 1st. So if you don't want to deprive your kids of a Christmas or anything like that, you can celebrate Kwanzaa. It's the week after. It does not have to intersect with your Christmas holiday at all. And basically, for anyone that doesn't know, Kwanzaa celebrates what its founder called the 7 principles. So there are 7 principles of Kwanzaa, which are Umoja, which is unity, Kujichagulia, which is self-determination, Ujima, which is collective work and responsibility. Ujama, which is cooperative economics, which you guys know I'm a big advocate of cooperative economics, hence why I will be doing a gift guide. Nia, which is purpose. Kuumba, which is creativity. And Imani, which is faith. So you can definitely, if you aren't already implementing that in your home, implement it in addition to, you know, the kind of Christmas, be good, Santa gives you presents, or if you're a Christian, birth of Jesus Christ. You know, you can also definitely, without having to adjust at all what you're personally doing with your family or with your kids, you can definitely add Kwanzaa as an alternative holiday. I feel like Kwanzaa is really important. When I have kids, we will definitely celebrate Kwanzaa. In my household, when I was growing up, my grandmother was a huge advocate of Kwanzaa. We did that in my house. It really, you know, like I hate to keep comparing things to the Jews, but kind of it does fill you with a certain amount of, you know, self-pride and a feeling of that you have something, you know, for yourself, for your people. So I would definitely recommend Kwanzaa in December as an alternative for Christmas, or in addition to Christmas, because it does not intersect. As we get into the new year, I also looked up some other holidays that you can celebrate all throughout the year, some of which are federal, some of which are not federally recognized. So there's, of course, Martin Luther King Day, MLK Day, which is January 19th. And I'm just going to go ahead and read you guys. Martin Luther King Day is a federal holiday held on the third Monday of January. It celebrates the life and achievements of Martin Luther King Jr., an influential American civil rights leader. So MLK Day is the third Monday of January, so next year it's going to be January 19th. Also, the same day that MLK Day is recognized, there is another holiday known as Civil Rights Day. Civil Rights Day is a state's holiday in the U.S., which means that not every state recognizes it, but you can, of course, recognize it in your own home. That, again, is the third Monday of January. National Freedom Day, which is February 1st. National Freedom Day is an observance in the United States that honors the signing of a resolution that proposed the 13th Amendment of the nation's Constitution on February 1st, 1865. So, this is an anniversary of the 13th Amendment. National Freedom Day, February 1st. Rosa Parks Day. Who knew Rosa Parks had a day? February 4th. Rosa Parks Day is an American observance to honor civil rights activist Rosa Parks, who was known for refusing to give up her seat on a bus. It is a legal observance on February 4th, so you can celebrate Rosa Parks Day in your own home. Emancipation Day, which is April 16th. Personally, I like the idea of celebrating Emancipation Day or Juneteenth, which is June 19th, in place of Independence Day. Like I said, Independence Day, July 4th, is one of those big holidays that's kind of hardwired into our collective conscious and our collective consciousness. But even though it's going to be really hard to completely stop celebrating July 4th, because July 4th is fucking everywhere, you can celebrate Juneteenth, which I'm going to get to, which is June 19th, and you can also celebrate Emancipation Day on April 16th, and Emancipation Day is a holiday to mark the anniversary of the signing of the Compensated Emancipation Act, which was signed on April 16th. Juneteenth, which is June 19th. Juneteenth is an annual observance on June 19th to remember when Union soldiers enforced the Emancipation Proclamation and freed all remaining slaves on June 19th, 1865. This day is an opportunity for people to celebrate freedom and equal rights in the United States. So those are just a few holidays that you can celebrate in your home in addition to the big holidays. Some holidays that kind of bring light to our own Black history, our Black American history in this country. I'm going to have the dates and a brief description of all these holidays in the description box, and I'm also going to include a link to a website that has all of the holidays for the entire year listed. We all know the big holidays like Memorial Day, Labor Day, Christmas, and Independence Day, and Thanksgiving, but there are a lot of other holidays, alternative holidays, in addition to the ones that I've named in this video, that you can recognize throughout the year to kind of give some perspective and just some balance, because really the holidays that we celebrate, especially the big ones like Thanksgiving, Columbus Day, and stuff like that, are, they're holidays that were set up from the white gaze, and a lot of them celebrate colonialism, and there are other holidays in place, and other dates, like I said, that you can celebrate in your own home and with your own kids, and to kind of just bring, like I said, some balance. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. It's an idea that I had for a while that I wanted to do because, like I said, I kind of found myself feeling weird about Thanksgiving, and these are things that I think about a lot, especially considering that I do plan on having kids, and I think about how am I going to explain certain things to them, and what am I going to do in my own house. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please check out the links in the description box. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.